And welcome to the Aaron Katzman Show. I'm your host, Aaron Katzman. We speak about your life, your money, and your investments. And as always, we're coming to you from the spiritual and soon-to-be financial capital of the world, Jerusalem, Israel. As always, please, I beg you, please hit the like button below if you like this podcast or any other podcast. And if you've not yet done so, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are now continuing our series due to popular demand on entrepreneurship in Israel. And it is my honor and pleasure to introduce Nicole Oren to the show. She's a mom, a wife, a podcaster, an organizational consultant, and a life and business coach. And she has a mission to teach female entrepreneurs the tools to help them succeed as well. Nicole, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Aaron. I love the way you call Jerusalem the new financial capital of the world. I think that's so accurate and true. Love it. And I'm really happy to be here.
I appreciate that. And you never know, right? Maybe one day it will be the financial capital of the world.
It really might.
So tell us a little bit about your what you do, right, as a coach, a business coach, and how you got into the whole world of coaching.
Sure. So what I do as a coach today is I help female entrepreneurs really with businesses of all different shapes and sizes. Some of my clients have 6-figure business, 7-figure businesses, and I really help them pave their own path to success. I think you're in the online business scene and we are fed all the time that there's this right formula to do your niche and there's this right formula to acquire clients. And really what I help my clients do is extract their own formulas, their own success strategies, and implement that until success really becomes inevitable for them. Whatever success also looks like for them, because that is different for different people. And your second question was how I got into the world of coaching. So before I was a coach, many moons ago, I was an organizational consultant, also in the army and also in the private sector here in Israel. So I was in the private sector and I had my first baby, my only baby, but I had a baby. And when I was on maternity leave, I realized I didn't want to go back to work for someone else. But I've always been ambitious and I've always had big dreams. So I found coaching and just the tools of life. I'm not even talking business coaching right now. Just the tools of life coaching really helped me transform certain things in my life and see things differently. And I got certified as a life coach from the Life Coach School in America. And I started doing coaching. It started as general coaching and then turned into business coaching, which I'm doing now.
You're a new Olah, right? Relatively new Olah, starting a business here. So first of all, I want to get back to that because I think that's really interesting. But how did you sort of build up a clientele starting from scratch?
Well, starting from scratch, building a clientele was a lot of social media in the beginning. It doesn't happen overnight. I constantly talk about on my podcast, the Pave Your Path podcast, I talk about how it took me 19 consults and like 800 subscribers, 800 people in my audience, like to really get my first client. It took me a full year of putting myself out there every single day, spreading my message. I was getting so much feedback and people were saying that they were changing things just from the stuff I was posting online. And just that signing the client was a lot for me. It took me a long time. And I boil it down to two things. One, it does take time. For some people it doesn't. I have clients that within their first weeks they're even getting fully booked, but for some of us it takes time. That's one piece. And the second piece is a lot of it is emotional, because when you're putting yourself out there in the beginning and you get your first no, a lot of people internalize that as like rejection and feel shame and feel like I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. And overcoming that it's a process. And for me, it was a process. Thankfully, I did go through that. So now I can help people like decrease the length of that window. But yeah, it was a lot of posting online, a lot of making connections, networking, putting myself out there and just showing up to every aspect of my life as a life coach at that point.
When you were growing up or when you were living in America before you made Aliyah, did you like have a dream that you wanted to own your own business, even in the States or wherever you were going to end up, or is it something that sort of came about?
I always wanted to be in a leadership position. I think like my childhood dream was to be the editor of Vogue. Um, yeah, it definitely would be what I would be doing if I wasn't in this right now. Yeah, and then when I remember when I was pregnant with my daughter, so I was still working for the consulting firm. I was listening to a podcast like How I Built This by Guy Raz. Are you familiar?
I've heard about it. Yeah.
And I was so encapsulated with every entrepreneur story. He basically like interviews all these big entrepreneurs and he talks about the beginning days. And I was so like every day I would come, my husband would come home from work and I'd be like, listen, I'm starting this business. I'm starting that business. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. So it's definitely always been something I thought about and was interested in, but only took the plunge after having a baby.
And how do you find owning a business? Like for me, the biggest challenge was it's also a big accomplishment, right? To say that I, immigrated to a foreign country with a foreign language and thank God have a successful business. But how is it to have sort of started a business, not in Great Neck, which I believe you're from, but in Israel, it's not the normal path to success, let's say.
Yeah, I would say it's not the normal path to success at all here. Especially because of like the perceived uncertainties that come with like running a business here in the beginning for people. Like when I look around me and I look at my friends my age in my community, I am the only one with my own
Wow.
business.
Wow.
Yeah, and yeah. Um, and I think what is that like? It could be difficult for some. I don't see it that way. I have a community of entrepreneurs also in Israel that I connect to of like minded women like me. And I have a community of entrepreneurs and business coaches from around the world who I connect with weekly. So I think what people usually struggle with is like loneliness. And I personally made sure that I don't have that.
Interesting. And did you find that when you were thinking, you met, you used your husband as a sounding board with all your different ideas, but do you find something that's come up over and over and over again is that people find that Israelis are very willing to help and to talk when somebody has an idea, an entrepreneurial idea. Did you find that at all, or is that something that's not in your world?
Yeah, my husband is an entrepreneur. He's
Mm.
had businesses before and now he's venturing out on his own after working with someone for a little bit. So I loved using him as a soundboard, but also I learned along the way that the most important sound is my own. Like the most important voice to listen to is my own and sometimes things may not make sense to other people, but when you put them out into the world, they make sense to your people if
Interesting.
you believe in it enough. Yeah.
So let's get back to your business, right? You focus on female entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
And do they have like a special, are they sort of all in the same type of business, or you have the whole gamut of businesses that they're starting?
So I would say 99.9% of my clients are service-based entrepreneurs. If that's interior designers, coaches, online business owners, graphic designers, they are providing a service of some sort, not a product.
Mhm.
So that would be something that, in terms of like external, that you would say puts them in one category or niche. What actually puts them, what makes them alike to one another is a deep desire that they know that they have a big dreams and they want to create success and they're just fed up with someone telling them how to do it, and they know that the way to do it is to really listen to themselves and build that trust muscle in themselves and the skills of problem solving, decision making, extracting lessons from failures and all of that. That's what creates their success and not any formula or blueprint that they can find online.
So what do? They come to you, they go, Nicole, we have a dream. I have a dream that I want to start a fill in the blank, a gym, okay, whatever it is, right? What's the process that you work with them on for them to
Yeah.
achieve their goal?
So depending on where the person starts, I actually always say that the process is pretty much the same. So if I got a business owner that was just starting out, like I have someone who started with me a year ago wanting to be a coach, and now she's running successful groups and in weight loss and programs that are sold out. And so with someone like that, or with someone that already has a substantial business that they just want to grow, or even learn how they can just create processes so it grows on its own, what I would do is I have 3 steps. The first is building foundational belief. So belief in their vision and what they're creating and where they're going, and really that like 3-year plan, and building the belief in themselves and in that vision. People often skip this part. We think that if we create the success, then we can have the confidence. Like the confidence will only come from the success. And science proves that you need to first believe, you need to first have that confidence in order to create the result you're after. So the first step is building that foundational belief. The second step that I do with my clients is something called trauma-informed massive action. So we create a strategy that is, whether it's Facebook ads or organic marketing or networking or whatever, we create a strategy to get their goal. So if that's 60K months or $1 million business, or even just a business with clients, we create a strategy full of actions. One thing that people often skip is they are not trauma informed. And what happens to all people, but what I see happen more to women, at least the ones I've worked with, is that we either take so much action that we send our bodies into a place of shutdown. So we can get a no, someone can say no to working with us, or people cannot like our post, or we can reach out and make offers and no one reach out to us. And then our system literally shuts down. It goes into a freeze response. Or for some people, they're just noticing. I was just on a call with someone who was taking all the actions. She was doing workshops and 20 people were showing up to her workshops, and no one was signing up for her program. And we can be doing all the things, but not seeing the result, because we're like fighting the internal world that's happening. So when you have that understanding of trauma, understanding that like I can take the actions, but I have my body and my brain and mind at the same time. So that would be step 2. And step 3 is problem solving like a CEO. So my organizational behavioral development background helped me really create programs to help my clients evaluate their results. So if they do get a no from someone, or if a Facebook ad flops, or if something like that, we evaluate it very deeply so we understand exactly what was happening. Also externally, in terms of like the post or the situation or what the person said, but also internally in that moment, in that experience for them. Because my work is rooted in the idea that the internal world that the person has, it will be what they create as an external result. And I see that over and over again.
That's interesting. Maybe you don't see this because you're working with newer, recently minted entrepreneurs, but I know a few entrepreneurs who, in step number 2, the trauma step, right? At the beginning, when they were hustling their business, right? And they were networking, they were getting rejected all the time, didn't have an issue with it, right? But over time, sort of another rejection, even as they grew their business, became overwhelming for them. And they almost like closed, they went into sort of their own little cocoon, and they were sort of satisfied with what they had, and they stopped networking, because at a certain point, it was just like, I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear no anyone. I don't want to hear any more criticisms. Like, do you ever find that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking of my clients that have bigger businesses. And that's for sure true. I think what happens when you've been in the game longer than others, you get something like I call entitlement. Like we feel entitled to yeses, we feel entitled to results. And that entitlement can create like this just shutdown of I don't want to do it because it's not happening the one time I post something or offer something.
That's really interesting. Really interesting. Entitlement. Fascinating. A lot of people watch the podcast, come back to me, and they say, first of all, they want to know, right? They have an idea and they've made Aliyah and they're really, really scared, right? Should they give up their 9-to-5 job and their income and take the plunge, again, in a foreign country with a foreign business culture and the whole thing? do you encourage people to always take the plunge, or they should be a little bit more thoughtful before they go ahead and they open their own business?
So I think each case has to be looked at individually. But what I would give someone as a tip is I would ask you, what's your reason why? Do you want to quit your job because you want to go all in? Or do you want to quit your job because you think you can't go all in if you quit your jobs? I have plenty of clients that are balancing a job, balancing children and their businesses, and they're able to do it, and they're able to get fully booked in that way to relieve the financial pressure, if there is. And I also have those that chose to just quit and go all in, and that was the way. So there's no right way. I wouldn't recommend doing it one way over the other. I would urge you to question, what's your reason why? And if you like that reason, then by all means quit your 9 to 5.
And that's why they should speak to you, because you can help
Yeah.
work. No, it's for sure. Like, people ask me all the time, I don't want that responsibility. I don't want to tell you we should open a business or not, right? But you're spot on, right? Why do you want to do it? And then you get into the nuts and bolts. Last question. Tips, right? Can you give us a couple of tips for people who are thinking of starting their own business, what they should keep in mind?
Okay, so my first tip, which I think is the most important, is don't chase shiny objects like quick wins, but chase building your own skill as an entrepreneur. Like, the thing that will give you the biggest return on investment is you developing your problem solving skills, building your resilience muscle, learning how to extract really lessons from every single action you take in your business, and learning how to market, how to sell, how to do all those things will give you a bigger return on your investment than if you invested in a guide to do your Facebook ads. So that would be my first.
Okay.
My second tip, let me think, is that really that no one knows what's right for you other than you, but you have to be brave enough to trust yourself, and brave enough to even trust yourself in the face of failure. Because people always say, it's like a cliche, like success is built on a bunch of failures. I want to offer something extra to that, is like, success is created in between lots of failures. So the way it looks like is like fail, 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 fail. Hint of success, fail, fail, success, fail, 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 success, success, fail, fail. Right. So it's like in between all the failures. And I think people, what we were talking about, that entitlement before, is like, when we do start seeing success and then maybe we experience some failures, some negative comments, some negative experiences, whatever, or like decrease in sales, we shut down. We make it mean that it's not working. And it's not true that it's not working. It's always working. You just have to see that success will always be in between lots of failures. It's never going to be linear.
Wow.
So
and that also means like thick skin. You have to be, it's very difficult to start a business and be incredibly sensitive to failure, right? If you're not willing to accept failure, it's going to be really hard for you to succeed in your business.
I think the key word that you said is willing to accept failure, because I would categorize myself as a highly sensitive person. And I've seen lots of success. And the reason why is because I'm willing to experience failure. I'm willing to feel that like awful rejection that I feel when someone says no. Even now, when I get yeses all the time, and even like, I'm willing to feel all of it. I'm willing to feel like a loser. I'm willing to feel inadequate. I'm willing to feel not good enough in pursuit of what I'm building. So you can be sensitive. You just have to be willing to feel sensitive.
Nicole, how can people contact you?
Yes. So the first place I would tell people to start is listen to my podcast, the Pave Your Path podcast. We were just ranked number 14 in the Israel entrepreneurship sector, which is pretty cool. And you can find me on social media at Nicole Oren Coaching. You can take my free business personality quiz if you find me through social media. And yeah, that's how you can find me.
And I don't usually do this, but it's pretty clear. It comes across pretty clear that if you're thinking of starting a business and you're a little bit unsure, you should for sure reach out to Nicole, because it came across very much through this interview that you really do know what you're talking about, and you've got, you can really help people get on the right path without question.
Yeah, thank you, of course. And anyone that is interested, I offer 1 hour free consultations. It's for me to see if you're a good fit and for you to see if coaching is a good fit for you as well.
Great. Nicole, thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You have been tuning in to the Erin Katzman Show. We speak about your life, your money, and your investments. Once again, if you like this, hit the like button below. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel and to the podcast. And thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll speak to you soon.